New York Attorney General Letitia James has become unhinged yet again, guys. Now, I mean, this woman has truly gone off the rails in her mad pursuit against President-elect Donald Trump. Just look at her foaming at the mouth and riled up supporters to go after our duly elected 47th president. Here, watch.
This together now. And so we've got to stand up to the federal government. We've got to stand up to bullies. We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. And we will not go away silently. We will not be silent in the face of this oppression. We will not.
Too male, too stale. Who comes up with this stuff, right? Like my uncle said, you guys, every time she opens her mouth, she sets black people back another 60 years. And these aren't the only comments that the AG has made against President-elect Trump and his administration. In fact, when Trump won, the first thing that came out of her mouth was that they're preparing to fight back. Seriously, check this out.
We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined. So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution. We will continue to protect our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us, because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful and steadfast, knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law, and we are prepared, my friends, to fight back. Thank you.
Prepared to fight back? Against what? Like 77 million Americans overwhelmingly voted for Trump. Is she saying that she wants to fight back against the majority of the American people? I thought she's supposed to be looking out for the American people. Seriously, this woman is losing it. People have been saying it for the longest time. She needs to be disbarred and prosecuted for fraudulent prosecution. Just hear the commentary from Fox News legal editor Carrie Urban. Watch.
Yeah, she's saying, well, we could be facing something. We don't know what it is, but whatever it is, we'll be ready.
Yeah, that was maybe the most distasteful speech I've ever seen a government official give after someone won the American presidency. And I think it reflects exactly how Letitia James has been this entire time. She has done everything in her power to destroy Donald Trump. She failed. You know how we know she failed? Because Donald Trump won decisively last night. This lawfare campaign that we have seen waged against Trump by attorneys general, by federal and state prosecutors, and them doing so by twisting the law in ways they had never done before. And we know this, right? This is not just a right-wing talking point. They use the law against Donald Trump in ways they've never used against anyone else in their states, in this country. And the American people spoke loud and clear last night and said, we're done with this. And yet, for the Attorney General of the state of New York to go on and give that speech just now, it's disgraceful. Well, to utter arrogance, right? And arrogance blinds people. Arrogance, pride goes before a fall, right? And I think that perhaps she doesn't even see it, which is remarkable to the rest of us. But again, it's because of people like Attorney General Letitia James and the action she's taken that Donald Trump won in the way that he did last night.
Utter arrogance. That's about what sums up Letitia James in my book. I mean, even registered Democrats agree that she's one of the reasons why a vote for Trump was a vote for saving this country. The New York AG was recently asked about whether she's worried about Trump saying that she should be arrested. Well, here's what she had to say.
I'm of the opinion that faith and fear don't share the same space. I'm not fearful of Donald Trump. I've never been fearful of Donald Trump. It's unfortunate that Donald Trump would engage in these comments. At this point in time, as you know, the case is on appeal, and we are looking forward to the decision of the appellate division.
She may not be afraid of President-elect Trump, but she should be afraid of the American people because they're now calling for her head in this civil fraud case. As Professor Jonathan Turley from George Washington University Law School said, James's case is on thin ice and she knows it. Here, watch.
If she was elected, Zippo, she had nothing to say, Jonathan. Is she worried that this case might fall apart on appeal?
Well, she should be, because the best hope she had is that he would not be able to come up with a bond and she could seize the property. Because this opinion, in my view, is vacuous. I mean, if you look at this opinion, at how he came up with this astronomical number, there really is nothing there. I mean, he's speculating that maybe these banks could have asked for a higher interest rate. That's not so clear. These banks were saying that this was a whale of a client. They wanted more business with him. The Trump organization was notorious for getting good deals from banks at considerable pressure on them. So it's not a convincing figure in any respect. So my guess is it could be substantially reduced. It could also find its way to the Supreme Court because it's so large that I think it raises serious constitutional questions.
But still, despite all common sense, the New York Attorney General still persists. Deputy Solicitor General Judith Vale wrote in a letter to Trump's attorney, D. John Sawyer, that they're basically digging in their heels. According to this, they're saying that Sawyer's call for New York Attorney General Letitia James to toss the case presented no basis for the office to do so. They're saying that the ordinary burdens of civil litigation do not impede the president's official duties in a way that violates the U.S. Constitution. Ordinary burdens? Like, we're taking millions of dollars and hours of court time and they're calling that ordinary? Yeah, definitely not buying that. Okay, so just a little bit of context here, guys. Letitia James sued Donald Trump back in 2022 and took him to trial last year. A New York judge, guys, that's important to note here, found Donald Trump and his business conspired to alter his net worth for tax and insurance benefits after previously finding them liable for fraud. He ordered the defendants to pay $464 million plus interest. Last I checked, the president-elect, Trump Organization, and top executives, including his sons Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, owe more than $497 million with interest, which has continued to accrue while they appeal. So now Sawyer, an appellate attorney who is also Trump's pick for U.S. Solicitor General, wrote in a letter to James that special counsel Jack Smith dismissed both of his criminal prosecutions against Trump following his White House win, and in New York, a judge is weighing whether to throw out the president-elect's hush money conviction. He basically said, hey, why is James still pursuing this crazy lawfare campaign against president-elect when everybody else has pretty much admitted that it was just all a witch hunt? And so that's why they pulled out their cases one way or another. Trump has appealed the ruling, and the judges on a New York appeals court seemed receptive to potentially reversing the judgment altogether. So if Letitia James isn't going to, the appeals court probably will. But where's the good faith in that, right? Like, if you ask me, Sawyer and Trump are doing the New York AG a kindness here. They're offering her an olive branch and they're giving her an option to drop the case herself, you know, to try to save at least a little bit of face. As Sawyer wrote in his own letter, President Trump has called for our nation's partisan strife to end and for the contending factions to join forces for the greater good of the country. This call for unity extends to the legal onslaught against him and his family that permeated the most recent election cycle. For Attorney Sawyer, the cases against Trump have been a flashpoint for national partisan division, and he so strongly believes that it is necessary for the health of our republic for the strife and for the lawfare to end. And to Letitia James, he said, you now have the singular opportunity to help cure this division. I mean, isn't that an olive branch already? It's not like this case is going to last long. Sawyer pointed out to special counsel Jack Smith's recent request, which was granted by federal judge Tanya Chotkin, to dismiss this case against Trump related to the 2020 election. Smith also tossed his appeal in the classified records case on Monday after a federal judge dismissed the charges altogether in July, ruling that he was unlawfully appointed as special counsel. Plus, in New York versus Trump, Judge Juan Merchan granted Trump's request to file a motion to dismiss the charges stemming from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's case and remove the sentencing date from the president-elect from the schedule. But does Letitia James listen? No. Instead, she said that she intends to continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, and retribution. Seriously, it's the same tired liberal playbook, guys, conjuring up the boogeyman to scare the American people. And the only revenge I see is the revenge that Letitia James wants after Trump. Well, 77 million voters have already woken up, and this incoming Trump administration is for sure to wake up even more. So what do you guys think? Just drop a quick yes in the comments down below. Hit the like button to show your support for the president-elect amidst all of this still ongoing lawfare campaign against him. And we're not done with this one yet, guys, but first, just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and tapping that notification bell. That way you guys don't miss out on our updates on this and all of the news that matters to you in our soon-to-be great again country, all right? We're all one big YouTube fam here, so let's stick together. All right, let's get back to the discussion. So again, New York, as represented by Attorney General Letitia James, has officially refused to vacate the ridiculous civil fraud judgment against Trump and his family. Now, this may be a tough pill for the Trumps to swallow. It's not entirely a bad thing, though, because it means that the case will go on and will definitely prove that freedom of speech should be safeguarded against attacks like this from liberal lawfare machines. Now, sure, the Trumps could lose over $464 million plus interest. Considering the stakes, it's not really that surprising that they reached out to Letitia James to try to get this case dropped. But from what we've seen from her, it's pretty predictable that James wouldn't budge a bit, especially given her political career could hinge on the outcome. She marketed herself as attacking Trump and getting Trump. Remember that? The lawsuit itself accuses the Trumps of inflating their property values, which is a violation under New York's executive law. And so now this law is really interesting, guys, because it defines fraud based purely in terms of untruths without requiring proof of deceptive intent, negligence, or harm. So it doesn't even matter if the falsehoods are material to anything. This kind of broad definition allows the government to chase after pretty much any false statement. But here's a very crucial point here, guys. The government isn't and shouldn't be the ultimate arbiter of truth. It can't just go around punishing people for making false statements. Freedom of speech protects that right as long as it doesn't harm anyone else. This principle was echoed way back by Judge George Hay. It is obvious in and of itself, and it is admitted by all men that freedom of speech means the power, uncontrolled by law, of speaking either truth or falsehood at the discretion of each individual, provided no other individual be injured. But under executive law being used by Letitia James, the state doesn't need to show that any individual was injured. Ridiculous, right? There was even that 2012 Supreme Court case, U.S. versus Alvarez, a case involving stolen valor or false claims of military honor. Well, Supreme Court explained that the Constitution rejects the notion that false speech should be in a general category that is presumptively unprotected. Needless to say, this precedent pretty much spits in the face of those that are supporting the case against the Trumps, and the simple fact that this involves business speech doesn't really change the legal standing. I mean, just think about it, guys. Even if the state believes it has a good reason to punish certain misleading business statements, the law, as it stands, overreaches by targeting all statements like this without any distinction. This isn't just about legality, guys. It's about constitutional rights. This is the kind of thing that could lead them banning anti-establishment YouTube channels like ours. But the executive law gives too much power to the Attorney General, allowing her to single out business speech she doesn't like, including that of political opponents. And the penalties she could ultimately decide herself, hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, you can see why this executive law has been a problematic statute for a long time. So yeah, just looking at the law itself, even if you don't exactly like the Trumps, we're not just talking about money anymore. It's about protecting our right as Americans for free speech. Many experts have already pointed out, and I'm inclined to agree, the judges in this case need to respect the First Amendment. They need to follow the Supreme Court precedents and apply good old common sense to see that this executive law is unconstitutional. And as for New York Attorney General Letitia James, I don't think it matters to her if she's found to be violating the Constitution or abusing opponents. As the law professor Turley pointed out, the AG has converted the New York legal system into a series of thrill kills. But thank goodness, at least the appellate judges are waking up and they're seeing this dirty lawfare campaign for what it is, political and unconstitutional. But drop a quick yes in the comments if you guys agree. We could definitely pick this up again in a future video along with the latest headlines that concern you and our country. So just make sure you guys are still subscribed. Make sure you keep your notification bells turned on. And while we're working on that next one, you can go ahead and take some time to check out our other videos on the channel. Like I just uploaded a video on this crazy drone situation that's going on in New York, New Jersey, Boston. Some people are actually saying they're seeing drones in California and even Florida. So definitely be sure to check that video out right after this one. Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. I want to thank y'all so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you guys next time.